Well, Bill Belichick has actually been heavily scrutinized this season after a rough start to the year. He does, though, have his team back to 500. Some have lost faith in him as of late, but are we getting closer to returning to "In Bill We Trust"? Well, maybe we'll see that kind of a game against Carolina this week. At this point of the season, many of us have wondered if Bill Belichick still has it, the all caps it. My guy Phil Perry writes this week, at least Bill has more than Matt Rule. Well, goodness, I hope so, but that's not the bar we're trying to clear. Hello and welcome to our Bella Early Edition. I'm Trenni Kusnierek. I love Phil, and I know what he's actually saying, that when you look around the league, there are far more Matt Rules, guys who coach the game away, than Bill Belichick's, whose game plans often win the unwinnable. I guess I'm just not there yet. Back to full "In Bill We Trust" mode. From questionable play calling decisions to admittedly screwing up a challenge to mental mistakes by his players, Bill hasn't entirely been Bill this year, but, and this is a Sir Mix-a-Lot-sized but, each week the Patriots and Belichick seem to be inching closer to the old Patriot way. All right, this is where we begin the deep dive with my guys, Tom Curran and Phil Perry. Phil, I'm going to start with you since I referenced your article. Does Bill still look like an elite coach in your eyes?
He does to me, and it has to do with some of the things we've seen on the field this year, whether it's keeping it close with Tampa Bay or Dallas or what we saw last week against the Chargers, especially defensively, where they're able to mix it up against Tom Brady, against Justin Herbert in that offense that has some pretty impressive weapons, to be able to confuse them into winning last weekend. And again, keeping it close with a few opponents that I think people didn't think that would be a possibility. But it really gets back to me, Tom, who Bill Belichick is relative to the rest of the league. When we see that Matt Rule is going about his game plan last week, telling Sam Darnold that one of their keys to victory is for him to rush for 89 yards, which where he gets that number, I have no idea. Seems completely arbitrary to me. And not only that, a horrible idea, because as he's running for his 66th yard of the day, he gets concussed, knocked from that game, and he may not play this weekend. Because a key to victory was for the quarterback, the only one that they have that's really viable on their roster, to run for 89 yards. For Matt Rule to say they need 55 or 56 completions and rushing attempts combined for them to win football games, how does that make any sense? I don't understand it. So to have a coach like that in Matt Rule, who's coaching a pretty good team right now, compared to Bill Belichick, to me, there really is no comparison.
The interesting thing, too, is coaches who are named the flavor of the week are stacked up like cordwood and either on the unemployment line or struggling. Eric Mangini at one point was a Coach of the Year candidate in 2006. He made the playoffs his first year, if I remember correctly, or one of his first few years with the Jets. Kyle Shanahan, flavor of the week. Sean McVay, he's won one Super Bowl. He's been up and down. Sean Payton's one of the only guys I can point to who was deemed a genius and stayed a genius. Trenni, you mentioned it's Belichick getting back to the Patriots way. The Patriots way, though, is to improve as the season goes along. I'll offer you up 2003. I'll offer you up 2006. There's few seasons in which they start hot and stay hot. 2010, another one. So, to me, the Patriots last year were a coaching masterpiece with a crap roster that Bill, as a GM, constructed. This year, though, you're exactly right. There have been coaching toe stubbages. But I think that they are mending that with this entirely new roster and some new coaches, getting on the same page. I'm a little windy here, so I'm sending it back.
Oh, something both of you said, like maybe I'm going to go a little off script here, but maybe think of something. Curran, why is it that Bill, or I guess how does Bill continue to stay at the top of his coaching game, even as the NFL changes around him?
Love it.
And why is it that nobody else can ever even get close to his level? Like, why doesn't anyone look at what he's doing and say, I need to do that?
It's institutional knowledge. The head coach and the coordinators, they come in together. They have stayed together by and large. Then they apprentice in the system. Then they get new jobs in the system. Then they have steadiness among special teams with Slater, defense with McCourty and Hightower. Then they build it with defendable veterans like Kyle Van Noy or Lawrence Guy, and then they have it on the offensive line by taking a guy like an undrafted David Andrews and say, you're our guy. Next thing you know, you get somebody who's ready to run through a brick wall. And Brady, Phil, you with me on that?
No doubt. And I think, too, you have to give the Patriots and Bill Belichick some credit for trying to move with the times and updating their game plans and their approach offensively and defensively. I mean, just think of all the different types of offenses they've run over the course of time, whether it was Brady in the early years and then they moved to the spread in 2007 and then they're a 2 tight end offense and then they're back to spreading it out and Brady's winning MVPs and then they win a Super Bowl with James Devlin on the field, it feels like half the time. And so they are able to morph and adapt to whatever it is they have to do. I really think it's that approach. It's we hate to hear the line, but it's the what's best for the team approach in terms of the X's and O's has really worked out well for Bill Belichick. Again, when compared to other coaches, guys that say, we're going to do what we do because that's our identity and because that's who we are no matter what, no matter the opponent, no matter the week. That's what I think helps separate the Patriots from some of the others.